in at their leisure and catch whatever information they can. So welcome to part 2 in our 2-part series on cybersecurity. My name is Lon Broske. I'm a certified financial planner with Pines Wealth Management in St. Louis. And remember, the goal in doing these types of webinars for our clients is not only to talk about financial planning and investment topics, but topics that are top of mind with our clients. And it doesn't get any more top of mind than cybersecurity. A couple of weeks ago, we talked about cybersecurity for your PC. And what we're here to talk about today is cybersecurity for your smartphone. And I would argue that this is probably the more important of the two webinars, simply because our smartphones, unlike our PCs, are with us 24/7. This year is the 14th anniversary of when the iPhone was released. It was released in the summer of 2007. So what started out as a novelty has quickly morphed into a necessity. And I would argue that anybody that's on this webinar right now, you either A, have the phone in your hand or you have it somewhere within reach. It's become that important. Our phones are with us 24/7. And so your phone becomes that key to your digital life. And as I immerse myself into finding more about cybersecurity, I find out that your phone is really the easiest access point for hackers. And that's the access point that does the most damage. And so that's why we're here today, is we want to learn at least some ideas on how to begin to think about and be mindful of our cybersecurity with our phones, because our phones are interjected in every single aspect of our life. And when I think about that for myself, right, 20 years ago, you had about maybe 8 to 10 phone numbers that you memorized by heart, right? How many phone numbers do we memorize today? I couldn't tell you any of my kids' phone numbers. I have not one clue. I know they all start with 314. That's about it. What do I rely on? Rely on that phone to remember it for me. It's part of my digital life. It's part of my digital connection. So the phone is very, very important. And I want to start off by telling you a real life story. And I'm going to change his name, but this story was in the headlines a couple months ago. But let's talk about Jared. Okay. And Jared is, by all measure, your average phone user, right? He's got his own business. He's successful. He's got a nice group of friends, nice group of family. And like everybody else, Jared uses his phone quite a lot. He uses it for work. He uses it for social media. He uses it to stay in connection with his family and stay in touch with his friends. It's an integral part of his daily life. I mean, for myself, I know when I leave the office at night, and if I make the mistake of forgetting my phone on my desk, rest assured, I am turning around. I don't care where I'm at, and I realize that I've forgotten my phone. I'm turning around and going back to the office and forgetting and getting my phone. And I kick myself for forgetting it. But Jared's the exact same way. His phone has become his life. And so he's working late one night, and all of a sudden he gets a message from his email account that his email password had been changed. Now, the first thought is confusion, right? That kind of takes control of you, right? For those first initial moments of losing your email password, or it's been changed, and you didn't get a text message on it. You didn't change it yourself. So what does Jared do? The first thing he does is he logs on to his email account to try and recover his password. He thought, well, surely this must be a mistake. So he tries to log on to his email password. And just like we talked about in the last webinar, Jared did an awesome job of having a 2-factor authentication on his email address. So as he's trying to reset his email address to recover his password, he's waiting on a text in order to confirm his email change. He never gets a text. So another wave of panic sets over him. Whether he knows it or not, Jared has just been hacked. So Jared calls the phone company and says, and again, once again, he doesn't really fully understand the impact on what has happened. But he calls the phone company and he says, maybe there's been a mistake. Maybe the cell phones are down or the cell towers are down. And that's maybe the reasons why I'm not getting my messages or my device is not working or something's going on. So he calls the phone company and the phone company says, Jared, you don't have a phone with us any longer. You transferred your phone to another company. And by that time, it is a full-on panic. Excuse me? I didn't transfer my phone number. I'm sorry, Jared, we don't have your phone number here any longer. At that moment, Jared realizes that he's lost complete 100% control of his phone. What happened? Very simple. The hacker forwarded Jared's number from his current carrier. In this case, it was AT&T. It forwarded it from AT&T to a new carrier called Bandwidth. Once it got to Bandwidth, then he set up a Google Voice account that was attached to that number. And now all of Jared's text messages and phone calls went to that Google Voice account that he just set up with Bandwidth with his number that he just transferred. And with that information at hand, guess what the hacker did? Took him 10 minutes to change all of his email accounts. Took him 10 minutes to change his PayPal account, to get into his bank account. Took him 10 minutes to take his Bitcoin and also change the Windows password on his PC. He's in. And Jared happened to be an early adopter of Bitcoin, and he had millions of dollars worth of Bitcoin. In fact, he had 2 Bitcoin. And he had done a good thing the week before, just the week before. He had taken that Bitcoin and he had stored that online in a secure account, a secure server, had a 30-character password, very long, very difficult to decipher. But yet the hacker went in through his cell phone, got control of it, changed the password on his Bitcoin, moved the Bitcoin out of his account. He had lost millions of dollars. And if that weren't bad enough to add insult to injury, Jared had lost control of his phone number, had lost total control of his phone. A couple months later, he still didn't have control of his phone. That's how important your phone is. Because once you lose control of it, it makes it very difficult to get it back. And so how did this happen to Jared? How does how does Jared take his phone from an unlocked status to a locked status? Well, very simple. 3 simple letters, PIN, a pen. And I'm not talking about a pen for your device. I'm talking about attaching a pen to your carrier's account. I have T-Mobile. I have a PIN number attached to my T-Mobile account. So if somebody calls on my behalf, any T-Mobile service center, T-Mobile's going to ask for a PIN number in order to make any changes to my account. I also have Google Authenticator app on my account. So if anybody logs on to my T-Mobile account and wants to add numbers, subtract numbers, change numbers around, they have to have that Google Authenticator app on their phone. We talked about that a little bit in our last webinar. And we've seen countless examples of very smart people having their phones hacked. Because everybody knows about PC and viruses and cybersecurity there, but they forget about their phone because it's so easy to forget about it. I was reading a story recently of a CFO of a company. And when you get to be CFO of a company, you're not a dumb guy. You're not a dumb person. You're smart to advance up to that level. But you know what? Hackers got a hold of his phone, forwarded his number to their own number with the intention of getting into the company's bank accounts and stealing money. Now, fortunately, in this case, they didn't get away with it, but it doesn't make it that any less frightening for the person, because lost his phone. And once again, once you lose your phone, it takes you that much longer to get that control of the phone back. And it could very easily have been prevented with a PIN number at your carrier. So do me a favor, after this webinar, call your carrier and get a PIN number established. And don't make it a PIN number that's the last 4 digits of your phone number. Don't make it your birthday. Okay, make it a random number that only you know. That would be the very first way that we could help Jared. But Jared also might have missed some other signs that we can see on your phone that could give an indication or may give an indication that you've been hacked. And here's just a couple of them. But let's review 10. If you notice a sudden change in your battery life. Now, if you've got a phone that's 5, 6, 7 years old, naturally your battery's going to drain quicker than what it was draining when you first got your phone. But maybe over the last day or so, you've noticed. I mean, I've noticed it before. And my first thought went to, I didn't realize I used my phone that much today. But if you have a consistent, noticeable decrease in your battery life, that could be an indication that your phone is being hacked. Slow performance. Maybe the hackers installed malware on your device in order to steal your data, in order to steal your passwords, in order to monitor your conversations. Another would be you get your bill and you realize that you used an awful lot of data this month. Man, I'm using a lot of data. I don't normally use that. And your carrier can help you because your carrier can give you a history of your data use and see spikes. Specifically, if they're recent spikes, they can see that and maybe alert you to your activity. You'll have drop calls or disruptions. That's another sign that your phone might have been hacked. You hear strange noises when in the conversation, or you'll be right in the middle of a conversation, the phone will drop. You have pop-ups. You're going into a program using your phone like you normally would, and then you see a strange pop-up. Next one would be apps that you do not recognize on your phone. When I first got my smartphone, I had 1 page of apps. And now as smartphones have evolved and adapted, now I have 6 or 7 pages of apps. There's an app for everything, right? And there very well could be an app on my phone that I don't recognize. I don't remember downloading it. I don't remember adding it. And all of a sudden it's there. So any unusual apps that could potentially track what you are doing, access your GPS, access your personal information, keep real apps from working, that could be an indication that you have been hacked. Other signs, your phone gets hot. Now, we all know that when you leave your phone out in the sun, it's going to heat up. And if you put it on a wireless charger, it's going to heat up. But if you're using it on a day-to-day basis and all of a sudden you see or feel that your phone is getting much warmer than usual, that's also a sign. Perhaps maybe you can't turn your phone off. You can try, but it doesn't work. It just doesn't want to restart. Again, it's not necessarily your device. Could be someone trying to hack into your phone. The phone just restarts randomly. I'm doing my thing in an app and all of a sudden, boof, it restarts. And your first thought is my device is failing. I want you to put that guard rail up a little bit and maybe think that someone has somewhere along the line, someone's trying to hack into your information. And not being able to make a phone call. A lot of times, right, if we can't make a phone call, we blame the towers. The cell towers. Cell towers are down. Something's going on with my phone. It's gummed up. I need to restart it. Could be an indication that someone has taken over your phone. These are all 10 things. These all are 10 signs that your phone may be under attack. So how can he help himself going forward? And we're going to talk about 8 steps that we can help Jared with. But really quickly, how do we protect our phone from hackers? And there's a lot of similarity between protecting yourself on your PC and on your smartphone, because essentially your smartphone is a PC that fits in your hand. mean, that device that you're now holding or is within your reach is a million times more powerful, has a million times more computing power than NASA had when it put a man on the moon. That's how powerful that device is in your hand. It's a computer. And if you ever receive a link, and you can't see the full URL, don't open it. In other words, if there's a bunch of numbers and at the end of that URL is the word PayPal, don't open it. Don't use the remember password function on your phone. Makes it that much easier to, if you lose your phone or if a hacker would get into it, they can very easily recall your passwords to your accounts. You want to make sure that we're switching off that Wi-Fi, automatic Wi-Fi connection button on your settings. Don't want to automatically connect to free Wi-Fi. We want to be able to manually connect, which we can control that, but switch off that automatic connection to public Wi-Fi. Just choose your Wi-Fi manually. And here's the other thing, okay, is when you are searching for Wi-Fi, and let's say you're out somewhere, let's say you're out at Starbucks, okay, and you need to do some work, and you're looking at your phone, and you see that there's 2 available hotspots. They're free. One says Starbucks, the other says Starbucks One. Not knowing that there's a hacker that's sitting 20 feet away from you that has that Wi-Fi connection, Starbucks One. And he's wanting for you to log on to that because that is a gateway that he can use to get into your phone. Avoid networks with suspicious names, such as free internet or free Wi-Fi. When you're on free Wi-Fi, if you happen to get on it, don't make any purchases. Don't access your important documents. Don't access important accounts. And if you're using Androids, you have to install a reliable antivirus program. And we'll talk about that. And of course, don't forget that passcode. But let's talk a little bit about seals. And I'm not talking about the animal. I'm talking about the trusted seals that most websites now have. Because companies and organizations are starting to get smart about cybersecurity. And they're starting to make substantial investments into their customer security. And anytime you're shopping or anytime you go to a website and you see these seals, rest assured that that website or that company has taken the extra step to protect your security. If you're shopping somewhere and they don't have this seal, you want to take that extra step and make sure that you've got your phone protected. But these sites, look for these seals when visiting sites, specifically when you're purchasing things or transferring secure data. You want to look for these seals that are some of the most common. Because and the bottom line here is that our smartphone is a pain point for most of us. Our smartphone security is a point of pain. Because let's be honest, okay? In order to secure your phone, we're going to give you 8 steps here in a minute, but you got to jump through some hoops here. It's not you just pick up your phone and you're hoping that the device manufacturer, that the software manufacturer takes care of it for you. They're going to take care of some measures, but it's really up to you, because that device that you have in your hand, that miniature computer, contains contacts, pictures, emails, banking apps, social media accounts, notes, keeps my calendar, keeps messages for me, and even sensitive information that I may be working on at work. It's the easiest gateway to our digital life, is that cell phone. And if we don't have it properly secure, we're leaving ourselves vulnerable and could possibly lose control of our digital life, because a hacked mobile account could lead to all sorts of problems that we don't want to have. So let's get back to Jared. How can we help Jared? Well, there's 8 essential Easy? Maybe not so easy, but at least 8 things that Jared could have done in order to prevent the hacker from accessing account. Number 1, we just talked about it, right? We just talked about that passcode. And believe it or not, when we talk about, a PIN, not a passcode, a PIN. That's what we talked about very initially as far as getting a PIN number for your mobile provider. Calling up, establishing that PIN number. Second thing you do is add that second factor authentication on your mobile account. If you pay your bill online, add that to your add that to your online account as well at your carrier. My carrier is T-Mobile, so it allows me to add that two-factor authentication when I'm logging in from a device. And also I have a PIN number attached. Whenever somebody calls, they have to have that PIN number in order to make any changes. No numbers can be transferred. No numbers can be changed, can't be added, nothing can change to the plan. So add that PIN number. That is the reason why I put this as number 1, because it's the easiest to do. That's a 10-minute phone call. Second thing I want you to do is I want you to add a passcode to your phone. Seems simple, I know. But 1/3 of smartphone users don't have a passcode. Now, there's 4 ways that you can secure your phone: fingerprint, facial recognition, a pattern, or a passcode. I'd like to see you do a passcode. And again, I know it's a pain because you're using your phone and maybe you get distracted and your phone goes dark on you, and now you're having to put in that passcode again. If you're an Android user, you can put up to 16 characters. If you're an Apple user, you can use 6. But a study was done by Consumer Reports, and they found that 2 million smartphones and tablets are stolen each year. And millions more are lost. And those that are going to pick up your phone either by stealing it or picking up because it's lost are curious about you. So Symantec, which is a cybersecurity software company, did an experiment piggybacking off of what Consumer Reports found. And what they did is they dropped 50 phones in common areas like malls and parks and elevators and food courts and things like that. Okay. And none of the phones were locked. None of them had a passcode. Here's what they found. 89% of the people who picked up the phone opened up their personal app, like a bank account. They went to their own bank account on this unsecured phone. 60% of them searched social media and searched their emails on this device that's unlocked that they found. They put their own personal information on this device. 60% of them. 57% tried to open up a password file on the phone. Now, 50% of those that picked the phone up were good Samaritans, and they tried to contact the owner of the phone. But half of them wanted to kind of see what was going on with that phone in the owner's personal life. So they went through his texts. They went through his social media. They went through his files before they gave the phone back. And I know it's an easy task to put that passcode on. But that passcode has to be the first line of defense because it's simple and it protects your privacy if your phone is ever lost or stolen. Now, interesting little fact here. So if you're a criminal and you're listening to this webinar, I'll give you a little tip. You may want to consider disabling the touch feature on your phone. And I'll tell you why. Because law enforcement can make you open your phone via facial recognition, via fingerprint, or via pattern. They cannot force you to give up your PIN, to your passcode, excuse me. Law enforcement cannot force you to give up your passcode. The other thing about a pattern is easy to identify because if you take your smartphone and you hold it at the right angle, you can see your screen and where you've been touching the screen. And if you use that same pattern over and over and over 1,000 different times, that pattern's going to be on your phone. Could make it easier for a hacker to get in. So get a passcode. If you don't have one, get one. Number three, third step that Jared could have taken is put on a Find My Phone app. Now, with iPhone users, it's called Find My iPhone, and it's pre-installed on your operating system. If you have an operating system that's 7 or higher, you've got it already on your phone. And you simply go to your settings, go to your iCloud, and enable Find My iPhone. If you're an Android user, you got to go to your settings again and go to security and go to device manager to find your phone. Now, here's the thing. I've seen people that have, I got Find My Phone on my phone, no problems. Yep, I got it. I got it on. But they don't turn on their location services. The location services are turned off. If you don't have your location services turned off, you're not going to find your iPhone, because that's how the program works, via your location services. So make sure you have your location services on in order for your phone to be located. Because when you find your phone, you can also wipe it out, which we'll talk about that in a minute. Number 4, update that software and update your apps. Now, I know a lot of people don't like to update their software because it may change the look of the phone. But these updates that the providers are giving you and recommending that you install are more than cosmetic. The last major update that Apple did, they closed a major security hole that their engineers found. Their operating system was vulnerable, and hackers found a way to add files, to delete files, to install malware, to record their conversations, to monitor what they were doing. So that's what these operating system updates do. They close those holes. Now, engineers will tell you whenever they close one door, one cybersecurity door, that opens up 2 or 3 more doors for hackers to get into. So there's always going to be constantly updates. And if you're an Apple user, one of the most frustrating things, and I know for my own family, because we've talked about it, is that when there's an update that's due and you don't have enough memory on your phone, it's going to tell you don't have enough memory to finish this update. The workaround on that is you simply plug your phone into a trusted computer, go into iTunes, and update your software via iTunes. You don't have to worry about your memory in that case. So just a little tip for iPhone users. The other thing is your applications on your phone. We just talked about that. I have literally hundreds of different apps on my phone. And I have an Android device, so you want to make sure that your applications are updated automatically, because an unupdated app is an open door for a hacker to get access to your phone, to download apps, to download malware, and start monitoring and stealing your information and compromising your privacy and your security. So not only do you update your software on the phone, you also make sure you want to update your apps. Number 5, Jared, I'd like to see you back up your phone regularly to apps. Now here I've listed some more common backup apps, but it doesn't matter whether it's ZipCloud or Dropbox or Google Drive or iCloud or OneDrive or whatever. Make it a habit to regularly back up your phone. Reason being, remember I talked about Find My iPhone. You've now got the ability to find your phone, and then if it's lost or stolen, you not only do you have the ability to find it, you have the ability to erase it. And personal story here is we had our receptionist had her iPad, and she brought it to work with her one day, and we went out to lunch, and someone walked into her office and saw that nobody was here, grabbed the iPad off of her desk, and off he went. She come back, and after the initial panic of trying to find it, maybe she left it somewhere, she realized she brought it to work, realized it had been taken. She got on another Apple device, located where her iPad was, and we could see it where it was, just a couple miles down from our office. We can see where where that person was moving from place to place. She eventually recovered it, but she wiped the iPad clean first. From there, she used a backup that she had done recently to restore all of her data on another device that she had gotten. And she was up and running in no time. So having a backup or backing up your phone allows you to, you could accidentally reset your phone. Okay. You could be messing around and all of a sudden reset your phone back to factory settings. If you got a backup, you can have your phone just as it was before, up and running in no time. So that backup really will protect you if you lose it, or heaven forbid, you get your phone stolen. So that's just that important. If you're an Android user, well, you got to do antivirus. iPhone users, you don't necessarily need antivirus, but you do need to update your software. If you're an Android user like me, some of the more popular antivirus programs are Avast, Bitdefender, and McAfee are kind of top of the three, top of mind for me anyway. And I'm not advocating one app over another. I'm advocating that you do your research and find out which app you feel more comfortable working with. I don't care which one you use, just use one, because your phone is essentially a MIDI computer, and we need to treat it as such. We need to protect it from malware. We need to protect it from anything that a hacker might add to our phone that might slow our performance down, that might track us, that might allow them to record our activity. It's, again, security for your phone that you need. Now, the other thing is this, okay? And this is really for iPhone users. So if you're an iPhone user, pay attention. Pay particularly attention to this. When you go to the App Store, okay, and you download antivirus in the Apple App Store. Now, Apple's gotten a lot better not having antivirus software available in the App Store, but when you go to the App Store in an Apple device and see antivirus software, all that antivirus software does is it gives you another way to lock your phone, and it gives you another way to find your phone. It doesn't really help you. So your update on your software is really going to be your best bet if you're an Apple user, to make sure that your antivirus capabilities are up to speed. Okay. Number 7, connect to the internet with caution. We just talked about that, right? But one of the best things about having a smartphone is I can get connected instantly, anywhere, anytime. And it's easy to connect. But once again, those hackers are out to get you, and they're going to trick you as much as they can. And they're going to create Wi-Fi connections that seem like they're connected with legitimate Wi-Fi connections or Wi-Fi organizations. Okay, it looks like the Starbucks One is going to be affiliated with Starbucks Wi-Fi, but don't trust it. Be very careful. If you don't have to connect somewhere, turn your Wi-Fi or your automatic connection on your Wi-Fi off and use your data. Because every time you use your data and turn that Wi-Fi off, that's a secure connection. The hacker can't access your information when you're on your data plan. Now, the caution here is this. You could run out of data. Okay, if you don't have unlimited data plan, you got to be mindful of that. So you got to go to other means, especially if you got to conduct important business, maybe online banking, or you need to make a purchase or something. Then we need to, and we don't have data, then we need to find a virtual private network, or VPN. And a virtual private network, and this is an app you can download that creates your own personal virtual private network when you're on a free connection. It's very easy. Go to the App Store, either in Android or Apple, and type in VPN. So if you are using a public Wi-Fi that anybody can access, it creates that virtual private network, which means that that network is secure for you and only you. Some programs are NordVPN, Private Internet Access VPN, Viper VPN. Those are just some of them, but go to your store and type in VPN. And then it'll bring up apps, several apps that are free. Some of them are pay, that will create that virtual private network for you when security is not available to you on a public network. The other thing that I will caution you against is Bluetooth. Okay, do not, if you don't have any devices connected to your smartphone via Bluetooth, turn that off, because a hacker can, again, be sitting in a Starbucks and you've got your Bluetooth on, and there's ways for them to connect to your device via Bluetooth, and once again, you won't even know it. Last thing is I want to see you encrypt your communication. Now, this last step, admittedly, is uber secure. Okay, this is taking your security up a notch. The first one, establishing your PIN, that's easy. Got to do is call the phone company. Adding a passcode to your device, easy. Okay, even turning on and off your wireless, that's easy. Okay, but encrypting your messages, that takes a little bit of work. And you have to understand the system of how your cell phones communicate with each other. And how cell phones communicate with each other is called the Signaling System 7, or SS7. That's how phones talk to each other. And again, my objective here is not to make you an expert. But by keeping your communications private, whether it be a text message, whether it be an email, or whether it be a conversation, once again, there are apps that you can download that will give you these or encrypt your communications for you. If you're texting back and forth, now, if you're an iPhone user, you can use iMessage. iMessage is a secure way to text back and forth with another user. But the problem is that that user has to have an iPhone. If that user doesn't have an iPhone, it may not be secure. And I don't know whether my friends or my family members have iPhones or not. I'm just texting back and forth with them. I don't ever bother to find out what version of OS they're using, or whether they have an iPhone or Android. It doesn't matter. I'm just texting them. Another secure message system is Facebook. Facebook has a secure feature where you can start a secret conversation that encrypts that message every single time you send it. So be looking for those two things. You can also download WhatsApp. WhatsApp I have on my phone. I have a client who lives in Singapore. We use WhatsApp quite a bit. WhatsApp secures or encrypts your text messages every single time you send one. Another program is called Pretty Good Privacy. Again, go to your app store, look up Pretty Good Privacy. That encrypts all of your email, so that if you're trading documents back and forth, and it's got sensitive information, account, social security number, things like that, Pretty Good Privacy is a way to do that. And Signal is another one. Signal is essentially a program or an app that encrypts all of your voice messages, all of your voice conversations. So those are three good applications that you should be using. And one other thing here that I'll say is, do not download apps that do not come through your app store, whether it's Apple or Android, because your provider, Android and Apple, if you go through the app store, those apps have been vetted. But if you're going to a website that's stationed in China, and they're giving you the ability to download an app through their website, not through the app store, that could be a malicious app. So just be mindful, if you're going to download any apps, and we all do, right? Download them through the Play Store or through the App Store in Apple. So really quickly, how does encryption work? And again, I'm not trying to make you an expert. I just want for you to know exactly what the process is. And we'll talk about Alice and Bob. Alice is going to start that encryption application, just like we talked about WhatsApp, talked about Signal. She's going to start that app for encryption. And there's two keys that are created when you send an encrypted message. There's a private key and a public key. That private key that's attached to that message stays on Alice's phone. Then her public key goes to a server, and it's stored there. And then when Bob writes a message back to Alice, either via text or email, he's going to pull her public key, attach it to that email or message, and send it back to Alice. And the only way that the only way you can read that message is the key that's attached to Alice's device. So encryption is really a two-pronged process. And each time you send out an encrypted message, you got to have two keys associated with that, and one key never leaves your device. The other thing about encryption is it uses, and again, this is kind of a more informational as anything else, but encryption uses prime numbers is really the heart of encryption. If you remember back to your grade school days, right? What is a prime number? A prime number is a number that's divisible by 1 in itself. And when you multiply 2 or more prime numbers together, you get a complicated number that can sometimes take decades for a computer to solve that equation. So encryption is very, very important. So let's summarize what we talked about today. We talked about adding that PIN number to your mobile account. Not talking about your device. I'm talking about your actual account at your carrier. So lines cannot be added. Lines cannot be subtracted. Services cannot be added. Services cannot be subtracted. Then we want to add a passcode on your phone, not a PIN. Remember, on that PIN, we don't want it to be any part of our phone number, or we don't want it to be a number that can be recognized by a hacker, a date of birth, our address, anything like that. We want that PIN number to be unique and only used for your phone account. Installing that Find My Phone app. Make sure if you don't have it installed, which most operating software now has it automatically installed. If you don't have another app that does it for you, make sure you know how to use that and keep your location services on. Next, we talked about updating your software. We want to make sure that whenever we update, or whenever we get a notification to update our software, we take advantage of that and have your apps updated automatically, because an unupdated app is an open door for a hacker. So keep your software on your phone and your apps updated. You want to back up at least once a week. Have it done automatically. I know my phone is done automatically. I don't even know that it's backed up. All I do is I get up in the morning. I get up Wednesday morning of every week, and it tells me on my phone, your phone's been backed up. The reason being is because if I need to wipe my phone because it's stolen or I lose it, I can pick up another phone at the store and start from scratch. In fact, brand new phone right out of the factory. I can restore my phone with all of my applications and all of my data. If you're an Android user, want to use that antivirus. Again, we talked about some of those programs. Doesn't matter what antivirus program you use. I just want to see you use one to detect any malware or any funny or suspicious activity that's going on with your device. And that Wi-Fi connection, right? Wi-Fi is now everywhere. Before, we used to hunt for it, but it seems like everywhere you go, there's a free Wi-Fi connection. I know all the restaurants have it. I know we were just at Broske today, and there was probably 4 people at Broske with computers, and they were there working on projects. Want to make sure that Wi-Fi connection is safe, and we can do that by establishing that virtual private network or switching to our data. And then we also want to, again, consider encryption through those programs. WhatsApp, pretty good privacy signal. Downloading those programs or add that layer of encryption, so if we are sharing important documents, that we have those 2 keys that we talked about. So thank you for your time today. Hopefully we gave you some good information that you can use today. Again, right off the top of the bat, what I would like to see you do is I'd like to see you call your carrier right after this program and get that PIN number established. Don't be Jared. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Be sure to follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And if we can help you, please reach out to us. Thanks for listening today, and have a wonderful weekend. And we will talk soon at our next webinar.